we will say, good day to you all this day of your time. We thank you once again for allowing us the opportunity to create and co-create this transmission with you this day of your time. We would like to begin this transmission by titling it A Game of Chess. Now, we have talked about the idea of different levels of consciousness that are relevant for your experience in physical reality, beginning with the idea of the oversoul, which has extensions that would create individuated souls, or spirits if you wish, which then, in order to experience physical reality, creates a specific extension of itself, a specific aspect of itself, a specific presentation of itself, called the higher mind, that will become half, in a sense, of the person that will experience the idea of physical reality. The higher mind, in thus then choosing particular themes to experience, particular challenges to transform in that physical reality, in creating that so-called destiny for the physical mind to follow, that hallway, that pathway that the physical mind will take, even though the physical mind will have its own free will as to how to walk that path. The higher mind's choosing, in a sense, the soul's choosing through the higher mind of the particular experience it wishes to have, creates the kind of path or destiny that the physical mind will experience. In order for the physical mind to experience that path, that theme of exploration, the higher mind will then, by using what is called the template level reality, the blueprint level that is used to create the outlines of the physical reality experience, if you wish, the draft of the experience. It uses that template level to create the playing field that the physical mind will play in. And from there creates and steps part of itself down into the vibration of the collective mind, which contains the collective agreements of the physical reality that is being experienced by the physical mind, and then the individual agreement level that determines the agreement that the individual has with the collective in playing out its scenario. And thus then down into the components of the physical mind itself, the belief systems, the emotions, the thoughts, that together create the behaviors that are representative of the physical persona, the physical personality, that becomes the other half of the whole person, being constructed of the physical mind and the higher mind, with all these intervening layers creating the playing field and the individual and collective agreements that the physical mind will use to explore the theme that the higher mind has chosen. Now, knowing that that is the basic structure, from oversoul to individual soul to higher mind to template level reality to collective agreement to individual agreement, and down into the physical personality levels, you will find that there is an analogy that can be made by using the game of chess, or perhaps many different kinds of games, but for the purposes of this communication, chess may be the most apt analogy, and we will use that. You can, in a sense, look at, thus then, from this analogy of chess, that the oversoul is the level of your consciousness that plays many different games at once. Not only a multitude of chess games, but a multitude of other kinds of games as well. Each game being representative of a life experience, an incarnation, a projection of the oversoul into some sort of reality where it is playing out some sort of theme and exploratory path. So the oversoul plays a multitude of games all at once. But each of those multitudes, each of those individuated games is thus then, shall we say, the purview, the domain of an individual aspect of the oversoul, the individualized soul that is focused on one idea, one particular style of game. In this case, by our analogy, a game of chess. Now, the higher mind, thus then, is created to be, in a sense, the game player, to strategize, to understand the playing field, to have the broad view, as it were, of the game. And thus then, in continuing this analogy, the higher mind uses the template level reality, the blueprint level, to create the game board. What you are familiar with, in a sense, again, by analogy, as the chess board, with its 64 squares of alternating color. Thus, once laying out the board, it thus then allows itself to project into the level of the collective agreement. The level of the collective agreement consciousness thus then defines the rules in general of the game, of the overall game. So once the template level has been used to create the playing board, the collective is used to create the idea of what rules are germane for the playing of this game. What reality game are we playing here? What is appropriate and relevant for this particular game we are going to experience, and what is not relevant for that particular game? That is decided upon in the collective agreement consciousness. Such examples, such simplistic examples of the collective agreement rules for this game in your physical reality are such things as, generally speaking, most of you will experience the concept you call gravity. You will experience the concept you call space and time. As a physical being, you will experience the concept of needing and requiring the idea of sleep, the idea of food, the idea of water, and so on and so forth, in order to perpetuate your ability to continue to play the game. Now, sometimes those rules can be bent a little bit, but generally speaking, the overall collective agreement rules will be abided by most people playing this game, because it allows you the opportunity to simply put something on automatic, to put the rules on automatic, so you don't have to think about them constantly and constantly consciously create them in order to play the game. This gives you the opportunity to actually simply focus on playing the game instead of constantly wondering exactly what the parameters are, what the rules are. So once you learn the rules, once you instill the rules within you, in an automatic sort of second nature way, then you can simply be on about learning to play the game better and better, more precisely, more clearly. Now, once the collective rules of the game have been created in the collective mind level of consciousness, it is time to define the idea of exactly what piece you are going to be, and thus then in the individual agreements, the individual agreement level, you will create the rules for that piece. How does that piece move? What is its position on the board? How does it relate to the other pieces? This thus then is created for the individual on that level of the why and wherefore, the concept of what you are as a playing piece, what skills, talents, abilities that you have to give to the game. Your ability to view your relationship to other playing pieces is created in this individual agreement level as it relates to the collective agreement, so that you will understand exactly how you fit in the game, where you belong in the game, how it is you will move in the game, so that you can take full advantage. By learning your style of movement, take full advantage of the strategy of the piece that you are being, and make sure that your movements are impactful and effective in creating the experience of the game that has been, in that sense, laid out for you by the higher mind and the board and the collective rules. Again, not that the piece doesn't have individual will, but it's going to use its individual will to best express, best exemplify the capabilities it has been designed to have as the individual playing piece. And so it will know its own rules, who it is, what it is, its own identity. And that's why it's very important to get in touch with the idea of, in a very clear way, who and what each individual is, to know their identity, to know what they are all about, to know what path they are on. Thus then clearly, knowing that will allow each individual piece to interact with every other individual piece in a way that allows the game to be played in the most fun way, in the most challenging way, in the most strategic way, in the most impactful way, in the most expanding way, in the most satisfying way. Because it is about the relationship of all the pieces to each other that allow the game to be what it is, and allows for different opportunities for each piece to play different strategies in every single game that it plays within the game, every single opportunity that it acts on, every single path of excitement that it follows, every single door that it walks through. Thus, then, again, once this has been determined of what the game board is, what the general rules are, what the individual rules are for the piece, now the physical personality is created, which is analogous to the actual piece itself. Thus, you find that the qualities of the physical playing piece, the physical qualities, the shape, and so on and so forth, the material it is made out of, the size, and so on, correspond in the idea to the physical personality and the physical body. And thus those qualities are also, to some degree, part and parcel of the game. And thus, by knowing the shape can be handled properly. It can be moved properly, in the proper way, smoothly throughout the game. It can be moved with finesse. And in the idea of the beliefs and the emotions, the thought patterns that together form the physical personality, the behavior of that piece, thus then is the complete chess game revealed. And then, once all those components are in place, you can play the game in the most efficient way possible. Once you have really learned the rules, taken them to heart, once you know who you are, taken that to heart, once you understand the piece that you have become, that you have extended yourself as into the physical reality game, once you understand the layout of the board and all these things and your relationship to the other pieces, then you can play the game in a very efficient, very fun way, very expanding way. And you can learn from every move you make and from every response you get how to play the game better and better and better, more efficiently, more smoothly, more broadly. Now, there are, of course, many different kinds of chess, in a sense, in many different parallel realities. Even in your own parallel reality, not only do you have the idea of two-dimensional chess on a flat board, but many people on your planet actually play three-dimensional chess on a multitude of levels. There are even parallel realities, and yours will be one of them eventually, that has learned to play the idea of fourth-dimensional chess, where time is actually a factor in the game as well, in terms of exactly not only where a piece winds up, but exactly when it winds up in that position, being also important to the playing of the game. So you are learning more and more levels on which to play this game of chess, more and more levels on which to play the game of life, to play your life out, incorporating a broader understanding and a higher capability of seeing different moves before you make them. In a sense, when you talk about the idea of chess masters, looking ahead, 5 moves ahead, 7 moves ahead, 10 moves ahead, and understanding for both players what those moves could all be, what the probabilities are, all the possible combinations of what moves could be made ahead of moves that have been made. This is really nothing more than extending your senses into all the different parallel reality versions of that game, being capable of seeing them overlap in such a manner as to guide yourself through the parallel reality game stream that represents the one in which your player, so to speak, wins the game. This takes practice, of course. It takes the ability to open up to the idea of being able to perceive parallel realities in a variety of ways. And again, this is analogous to some of what you are doing in your physical reality now by becoming, first of all, aware that there are, of course, such things as parallel realities, parallel games going on that perhaps other versions of you are playing, and thus knowing that since everything exists in the now, you have the ability to cross-connect to many of these other incarnations and become aware of the interconnected energy and information that can be downloaded from these other games going on in ways that, by observing the moves in some of these parallel reality chess games and games of life, you can apply some of these moves to your own game and thus shift yourself to one of those parallel realities, become the player, become the focus of the player in that parallel reality that is more and more indicative, more and more representative, if you will, of the game that you prefer to play. Now, many people on your planet become enamored, become fixated and focused on the idea of knowing about all these other parallel incarnations, parallel realities. And the idea is that it's all well and good to know about them, but to a certain point. Because once you allow yourself to understand how to download that information in the most efficient and relevant way, you will realize that you really only need a little bit of information here and a little bit of information there, just exactly when you need it to help you with the next move that you're going to make on the game board. You don't really need all the information at once. You don't really necessarily need to connect to every single parallel reality version of the game at once, or even ever. The idea would be that if you are playing one game of chess and you have developed some capability to look several moves ahead, in other words, to examine a number of parallel reality versions of the game all at once, and you have decided on what course to shift to that is representative of the game you prefer to play, that's all well and good. But if you take it a little bit too far for its own sake, just for the sake of being aware of other versions of the game that may not necessarily be relevant to the game that you really truly need to play, that you really truly prefer to play, then you will simply clutter up the game board to such an extent that you won't have any capability of making any moves at all. So the idea is to keep it simple, keep it streamlined, keep it efficient, and only allow yourself to know that what is necessary is all you really need to know at any given moment, even as you extend your senses into a variety of parallel games. Allow the synchronicity in your life, allow the way in which the game unfolds naturally to show you, to demonstrate to you exactly how many moves ahead you really need to see, how many different versions of the game you really need to be aware of at any given moment. Let it fall into place automatically, naturally, in such a manner as to be representative and reflective of the game that is truly your game. Because when you are truly playing your game, then you will find that the outcome of that game will always be satisfactory for you, regardless of who else you may be playing with. Because as these things go, even though different people may be playing on the same game board and each playing their own game, you're not really playing against each other. You are playing your own game, and in some senses with each other, but each of you actually has the capacity to win your own game at the same time. So let the synchronicity simply show you the moves that need to be made that are truly representative of your game. Don't worry about what someone else's game is all about, because those moves are only relevant for their game and not yours. And let the game unfold in the most natural way possible. Now, again, many people may get fixated on the idea of looking at other games and other incarnations and want to know all about all of them all at once. But again, it would be like playing a game of chess and somebody comes along and says, well, here's another set of pieces, let me put them on the board too. And here's another set of pieces, let me put them on the board too. Pretty soon you'll not be able to make a move because all the squares will be filled with pieces and there'll be nowhere to go. And even more so, recognize that your oversoul and all these different incarnational games being played are not only just games of chess. Some of them are games of checkers, cards, and other types of game. And so To ask for more information than you need would again be like someone not only coming along and placing 3 sets of chess pieces on the board, but also dumping a lot of checkers on the board, dumping a bunch of cards on the board, and saying, now go ahead and play. You wouldn't know where to begin. It would just be a mess, a pile on top of the board. In fact, you wouldn't even be able to see the board anymore. So keep it simple, keep it streamlined. Play just the number of moves ahead that are really germane for you. Allow yourself to extend your senses by all means into the parallel realities that will allow you to download whatever information will give you the opportunity to decide which game, which parallel stream of games you really wish to shift to.
But it'll say good day to you this day of your time. How are you all? All right. We thank you once again for the co-creation of this interaction, and we thank you for allowing us to share our perspective, our point of view, our experiences with you for 30 of your orbits around your central star. Doesn't sound like much when you say it that way. Just 30 times around the sun, that's all. But we know that in your reality, a lot happens in one orbit. And so we know that in the information that you have decided, that you have chosen to apply, to incorporate into your own lives, that we have reflected to you the information that your higher minds already know, that we are simply happy to remind you of what you have forgotten. We thank you for your willingness to incorporate whatever it is you believe that you prefer, whatever it is that allows you to be more of your true selves. For when you choose to do that, it creates a reality, a new reality that we can share more and more with you in. And we thank you for increasing our ability to expand our family through each and every one of you. We would like to begin this transmission this night of your time with the idea that has been titled, Dream a Little Dream. The idea now, of course, as we have discussed a few times, is that dreams can be many things. Sometimes they are simply the idea of your mind processing certain events of the day. But other times they are also memories, whether they be literal or symbolic memories, of experiences that you may be having on other levels of consciousness, even experiences you may be having in other realms, other dimensions, and other realities, but that then you cannot necessarily make sense of in your language, in your symbolism, beyond a certain point. So the physical mind, when you reconnect with your physical reality, when you wake up, so to speak, you will create for yourself some form of representation of an experience that you may not have been able to understand in physical reality, but you were capable of experiencing in non-physical reality or in other dimensions. But in wanting to remember that experience, in wanting to connect to that experience, you have to have at least some symbolic representation or interpretation of something for which you have no words, for which you have no way to frame in the actual reality in which you had the experience. But one of the things we wish to allow you to understand is that, very similar to the concept of manifestation that we have discussed with you, where everything is already here and now, it's not that you're attracting something from somewhere else, you're simply allowing yourself to change your frequency to match, to be resonant, in harmony with what is already here that was simply heretofore invisible to you. In a similar fashion, dreams are often simply the idea of playing out, stretching out in a physical space-time linear way, an experience that you actually have in a timeless state. So the idea is that you have the entire experience all at once, instantaneously, but then it reels itself out, spools itself out in your physical mind and takes whatever time it takes to create the symbology, to create the symbolic story that represents the experience that you had, but the experience itself may not have taken any time at all. So again, it is similar to the idea of a telepathic communication, where all the information is there instantly, But the idea of incorporating that information into your physical reality may require that you stretch it out into words, into pictures, into some form where it seems as if the information is coming one step at a time after the other so that you can make linear sense of it and apply it in your physical reality, which after all is a space-time experience. But it's all there, right here, right now, all at once, the entire dream, and every dream you will ever have, every experience you will ever have, exists right now. You tap into them at whatever rate, at whatever pace, and whatever timing is appropriate for your process in terms of your growth and what you believe to be true for you. But all the dreams exist right now. And in addition to that, of course, your physical life, in a sense, as we have said many times, is a type of dream, at least from the perspective of the higher mind, and certainly from the perspective of the soul. You are the soul's dream right now. The soul, in a sense, goes to sleep by projecting itself into the idea of a physical experience and chooses to forget, in a sense, that it is an expanded soul in a timeless reality that knows everything it needs to know. And by going to sleep in that way, it dreams of itself being in this physical reality in a kind of a limited way so that it can explore a certain idea free from any other idea intervening or interfering with that physical dream. So you yourselves, your life experiences are the dreams your soul is having. And you are going through that reality, going through that experience to feed back to the soul when you wake up, so to speak, upon death, and thus then can allow yourself to know that this is a dream, and that you had this dream experience, and that whatever it is you did experience in this dream adds to your soul's understanding of itself by having been able to experience itself from a different point of view than it is capable of experiencing itself from in a timeless reality, or at least a reality with not the same kind of time experience that you have in the physical world. Now, you know, many of you, that you talked about the idea of experiencing what you call lucid dreams. And this is a very special kind of an experience. The idea of waking up in the dream and knowing that you are dreaming gives you unprecedented ability to, in a sense, control the dream, to determine what the dream experience shall be consciously while you are still in that dream state. Now, that lucid dream state takes place in what we have talked about called the template level reality. That borderline between the non-physical higher mind and the physical mind is the template level reality where you, in a sense, plan out the idea of your day like a blueprint, plan out many aspects of your life like a blueprint, like a chart. And when you dream, you can go back there and rearrange things. You can look at the agreements you have made to explore, the themes you have chosen to explore. You can rearrange how it is you go about exploring those things in the template level reality. And thus then when you reconnect to physical reality, you can thus then experience the manifestation physically of the rearrangement you have made in the energetic, quasi-physical template level reality that determines all shapes and sizes of things, all physical experiences that you have. So lucid dreaming is, in a sense, allowing yourself to wake up closer to being the higher mind expression, closer to being in balance with the higher mind in that template level reality. Now, you are inventing many different kinds of techniques and permission slips, and even technologies that give you more opportunity to wake up, to have lucid dreams as you prefer to, as you desire to, in whatever way you so choose. One such technology that now exists on your planet is called a rapid eye movement mask, REM mask. And the idea is that when you are wearing this mask, you will be given signals through infrared lights that will flash through your eyelids. And you will learn to train yourself to recognize that when you see those flashes in your dream state, that you will actually remember that that is a signal you are dreaming. And thus then by remembering that is a signal that you are dreaming, you will wake up in the dream. It also comes with the ability to let the mask know that you have woken up so it will not keep flashing you and disturb the now lucid dream that you are having which will give you the opportunity to thus then really experience that template level reality, to actually wake up in that dimension between dimensions and really explore the blueprint and really see how you can rearrange things consciously instead of simply allowing it to be an unconscious experience for you. So there is that now available to you. You can look it up.